I challenge you to commit with me to ending resistance reign right here, right now, or at least be willing to end the subconscious level awareness of it, because sometimes the willingness to be aware of it is what you need to at least get the ball rolling. Resistance is a big manifesting blocker and slows down the arrival of abundance into your life. One of the biggest reasons to wrangle your resistance in is so you can get what you want faster.
Many people want to navigate life with peace and joy, but struggle to connect to their intuition. They find themselves overwhelmed, burned out, and frustrated. My name is Francesca Phillips, and I'm obsessed with spirituality and psychology and how the two can intersect to help you live a successful and intuitive life. I believe each of us can accomplish amazing things through balance and healthy habits instead of burnout. Consider this your go-to resource for where spiritual wellness and mindful productivity meets practical wisdom. If you're craving positivity and want to know how to find the answers within instead of searching endlessly without, then you're in the right place. Get ready to feel supported and inspired. This is the Good Space Podcast.
You're listening to the Good Space Podcast, episode number 45, 5 Ways to Overcome Resistance and Raise Your Energetic Vibration. Before we dive in, I want to give my warm appreciation to our reviewer of the week, Kinley Haas, and they say, "Love this new podcast. I have a hard time simplifying my life, and ever since I started listening, I feel much more capable of tackling my goals. Give it a listen." Kinley Haas, thank you for sharing your energy and joy. I know you'll do great things as you learn to simplify and gain that confidence. I'm so excited to cheer you on and have you be a part of the Good Space community.
If you want to be highlighted in an upcoming episode and help further the mission of the Good Space, make sure to subscribe and give us a review on Apple Podcasts so I can then highlight your review in an upcoming episode. It only takes a minute. You can pause the episode and come right back. Make sure to screenshot this episode on your phone and tag us on your Instagram story at @FindYourGoodSpace, #TheGoodSpace, to let me know that you're joining in today, as you know that I love to share those screenshots on our stories too.
If you were a superhero, you would be called the Resistor. That's what my husband told me after he showed me a new elegant home decor item he wanted to get for our New York City apartment. My initial reaction was skepticism, not because he has bad taste. No, he has excellent taste. It's because I don't have the decorating bone in my body. And when I don't know something, I freeze and I doubt my ability to make the right choice. Eventually, I say yes and end up loving what my husband picks out. After a few more times of being called the Resistor, I started questioning why that was my default setting. I know I'm not alone in this either. You may be listening and struggling with resistance too. You know, that tight, defensive feeling as if you hit a brick wall, that feeling of energy being blocked rather than flowing with the tides of life. Michelle Rees says, resistance is an inherent characteristic of change. They go hand in hand. I definitely don't handle change as well as I want to. Some people resist going to the doctor because they're afraid they'll get news they don't like, or resist receiving more love from their partner because they don't believe they deserve it. It's a way of saying, nope, I don't accept what's happening right now, or that, nope, I don't trust myself to make a good decision or handle a new situation. So what do you resist the most in your life? This is why we struggle with resistance. As the ultimate resistor, it made me curious. Why? Why do we struggle? How the heck can I stop being an expert resistor? So I've researched and compiled information, and this episode will share what I found. Resistance not only affects our well-being on a physical and emotional level, but on a creative one too. It's a self-protection mechanism that activates when a change happens. Michelle Rees says that resistance can feel like an internal struggle between two parts of ourselves. Tony Fahkry says, emotional resistance implies the avoidance of feelings and unconscious emotions hidden under the surface. It relates to facing the true nature of oneself. In spiritual speak, that's the ego conflicting with the higher self. The ego wants to stay the same and within its comfort zone. The higher self is curious and open to expanding and learning. Depending on which you identify with the most, the ego or the higher self, resistance can have a bigger or smaller part to play in your life. On the physical level, Rees says, since the change process requires extra effort, energy, and brain power, resistance can provoke physical feelings of discomfort like tiredness, lethargy, and slowed movement patterns. This effect happens on a subconscious level for most people, so they may not realize resistance causes these symptoms. Resistance creates more disruption in your life than you think. And that's exactly how I felt. I realized, oh my gosh, it's stopping so much. I'm coming on strong here because, as Stephen Pressfield says, most of us have two lives, the life we live and the unlived life within us. And between the two stands resistance. I don't want resistance to be the reason that unlived life within you stays unlived. I challenge you to commit with me to ending resistance reign right here, right now, or at least be willing to end the subconscious level awareness of it, because sometimes the willingness to be aware of it is what you need to at least get the ball rolling. Resistance is a big manifesting blocker and slows down the arrival of abundance into your life. One of the biggest reasons to wrangle your resistance in is so you can get what you want faster. Maybe you're the manifesting sort like me and want that flood of abundance to wash over you without hesitation. If you feel like all you're getting is a drip at a time, resistance may be to blame. There are many underlying reasons for this. It could be belief related or habit related. I could sit here and break down psychological concepts, which are interesting. We'd not only be here though for a very long time, but it could get confusing how this actually applies to your life. So I've decided to illustrate the concept of resistance using a story. See if you can take away any inspirations to use for your own life. A few weeks ago, I felt drained by my copywriting business, by the good space, and by life in general, also a bit sad. So I took a few days off and figured I'd come back refreshed and motivated like usual, but nope, that's not what happened. My sadness kept getting worse, so there was an energetic block somewhere in my life, a resistance. But to what? What was it? After talking to a friend about it, I realized that I'd been attracting lack instead of abundance. And let me explain. In my business, I'd been focusing my energy and thoughts only on the things that would make more money. And if you're listening, you don't see the air quotes, but they're there. I want to make more money, or so I thought would make me more money. Doing projects and creating offerings that experts told me would be profitable, but they weren't working for me. It was frustrating. Profit is a necessity as a business owner, so you're not running an expensive hobby. And I'm curious, have you felt the pressure too to create something based on the money it could bring in? What was missing was energetic alignment. In focusing on wanting money, you're acknowledging there's a lack of it. When you acknowledge there's a lack, the universe continues to give you more lack. It's the same with love or any other desire. Striving after it and wanting it acknowledges lack, because if you accepted that everything you could ever want is there in abundance, you wouldn't want it because you know it's already there. And that wanting and that acknowledgement of lack creates resistance, because rather than flow with the way God, universe, wants to give you abundance, you instead demand it show up the way you see fit, what the ego sees as the right thing. But who says we know what's best for us, considering how limited our human mind is? So I realized that rather than focus on needing something, I needed to turn my attention to what felt good. It didn't matter if it made business sense or was a ham sandwich. If that felt good, I needed to focus on that above all else and unblock that stuck flow of abundance. For me, that was making writing a priority. It's been the one thing God has clearly told me I need to focus on. But I've ignored it because in my mind, it didn't mean money. So I had a real talk with God and said, fine, I'm going to commit to writing and make it my main focus. I don't see how this will help my situation, but I'll do it. And so here is where the act of trust matters. But before I tell you how the story continues and the amazing things that happen, I want to let you know that if God places a desire in your heart to want something, He does it for a reason. He may make the path to get there super weird to the egoic mind, but He will get you there. You must trust He wants even more for you than you want for yourself. It's only on us to receive that abundance and be willing to learn to handle it, because if we can't handle it, He won't give us anything beyond what we can handle. So I started to feel better about that commitment to focus on writing. I looked at my planner and I decided to focus only on launching my new productivity ebook. That's it. It felt good. Then I wondered how else I could simplify my business, because I still felt a little bit of resistance. So I asked myself, okay, well, what else feels heavy or blocked? And so for you listening, once you make your commitment to what it is that you really feel called to do, and you're like, okay, I'm on board, I'm aligned with it, I'm going to do it, then ask this question and see what happens next. So what else feels heavy and blocked? How else can you simplify your life, your business, or whatever it is that you're doing? So now we're going to move on to letting go of what feels misaligned. So this is going to help with resistance as well. When I asked myself that question, what else feels heavy or blocked? I realized I need to let go of my new assistant. I had just started training someone and it felt like the right step if I was going to ramp up my business. Because you always hear entrepreneurs saying, oh, hire a VA before you need to, and they get them to do the tasks that will free up your time for genius zone work, which is absolutely true. It's the best investment you could ever make. But I had felt that right now I'm still trying to figure out my offerings and I don't really have like a clear direction right now. So I felt like it wasn't as helpful had I had the idea of where I'm going. So anyways, I found her through a staffing company and it had only been 2 days. So we were still working out the contract. It hadn't been signed at that point. So we were really just at the very beginning. And so something told me to get on a call with the assistant to check in. So we did. And at the end of the call, something I said prompted her to tell me that she hated working with the company she was at. So the company that I was going through to hire her. And she said that she planned on quitting by a certain date and had dreams of starting her own company where people were treated better. What a blessing that she trusted me enough to say that, and for her to share her dream and vocalize what she was feeling and experiencing. Sometimes I feel like we forget that everyone is having a deep inner experience and they have an inner world and goals and dreams, and to meet people on that level is so special. But also through sharing that deep down, I knew I didn't need an assistant until I figured out what my offering would be. Because before I had offerings and things that I was going for, and so it made sense. But now that I'm stepping back, I felt like this was God pumping the brakes and making me be honest with myself. This was the dilemma. So would it be bad to work with her for 3 months, then have her train a replacement 2 weeks before she left? Working with her in her new business wasn't an option since the staffing company contract has a non-compete clause. Or should I stop completely, which I knew I felt inside, but I couldn't admit at the point. If I stop, I can pocket that expense as profit or funnel it into another part of the business. So rather than freak out and get all anxious and stressed out like I normally do, I decided to release it to God because I had already been trying to simplify. And I'm like, okay, releasing this to God is going to make things simple and feel better. So before bed, I asked my subconscious to work through this challenge and give me an answer in the morning. So this is another lesson with resistance. If you are feeling just stressed and stuck when you question something in your life, ask your subconscious before bed to work it out before you sleep. So when I woke up, I felt this calm clarity around not moving forward. And as much as my ego was fighting against it, I knew that was the decision I needed to make. So I emailed the hiring manager, not saying anything about my conversation with the assistant. I didn't want to get her in trouble. And I just said I wouldn't be moving forward at this time. She understood and said to reach out in the future, so all was good. When that exchange had finished, an energetic pressure just released. I felt so good and knew it was the right choice. And here's the cool part. 2 seconds after, I kid you not, my husband comes into the living room and starts being super affectionate, saying he missed me and wanted to spend time with me on his break. Usually in the middle of a workday, he's focused and stressed, so this was not normal. I immediately knew he felt my energetic shift without realizing it. So then he goes back to work and I get a text from a copywriting client asking if we could chat on the phone real quick. He said, I'm going to sell my business and want to go all in the next phase of my career and life. This doesn't have to be you if you don't want to, but I need help getting together everything that will set me up as an authority in my industry. A course, launch emails, getting on podcasts, etc. So if you want to help me get a plan together and execute on getting this done, I have the money, let's go. If you own a business, hearing words from clients about, I have the budget and you tell me what to do and let's go is like a dream. So the minute I committed, like truly committed, because sometimes we say we commit to things, but the energetic support is not there. But I truly released and committed. And as soon as that happened, and I was focusing on what I knew God wanted me to focus on, abundance flowed. immediately and without effort, money, affection, all because my attention turned to what felt effortless and aligned. This also proved it's not about if you want a ham sandwich or a beachside home in Malibu. If it makes you feel good, resistance releases and abundance flows. It made sudden sense to not ever want anything that feels icky, pressure, or resistant, because I won't get what I want anyway. Because anytime you feel pressure or resistance or ickiness, it blocks that flow. So what's the point, right? What's the point? Elizabeth Daniels says, whenever your intention fails to manifest quickly, it's because you aren't a vibrational match to your intention. Instead, you're a vibrational match to things remaining the same, and you probably don't even realize it. I loved this quote because in my situation, my higher self was ready to evolve and expand, but without clarity and alignment around my intention for the future, I stayed in the vibration of my current self. My ego capitalized on that and fueled the fire with fears, doubts, and blocked those manifestations because it doesn't want me to expand and evolve. It doesn't want you to expand and evolve. So think about some times in your life where you felt like things were expanding and you were growing into something that you wanted, but then maybe you self-sabotaged or you felt resistance and you weren't sure how to clear it. And so you just thought, oh, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I'm not meant to have this. But really, it's just that the vibrational match wasn't there. So Daniels continues to say that resistance usually takes the form of subconscious fears and doubts. You don't even realize they're there, yet they sit in the background and prevent your desires from manifesting. They act as counter intentions, and the more attention and energy you give them, the harder it is to manifest what you want. I'll break this down a little bit. So resistance usually takes the form of subconscious fears and doubts. So anytime you feel a lingering like resistance or irritability or unsure or doubt, that is resistance. And the crazy thing is that we don't even recognize it's there sometimes, but that's why we're doing this episode, so that you can know when it's there and you can call it out. Tom Fahkry says, in order to move forward, resistance must be given up. We have to release it. This can be a challenging aspect since we take ownership of the emotion by identifying with it. He makes such a good point because when an emotion becomes part of your identity, it becomes even harder to let go of it. It feels as if we're abandoning ourselves, which makes sense, right? Because you identify with that emotion. And if we identify more with the ego self than our higher self, we'll feel a lot of internal conflict as our emotions change and evolve, which they do a lot, hopefully, right? Now that I kind of gave you an example and a story, I want to now give you a few steps that can help you have a consistent way to dissipate and work through resistance when you notice it's happening, right? So something happens in your life and it may not be the exact story as mine. So what do you do? So to make this easier to remember, I'm going to call this the 6 R's of working through resistance. It felt right, and I love creating easier ways to integrate new learnings. So feel free to share this and say you heard it here first. So number 1, the first R, is recognize it's there. When you feel emotions like fear or irritability, accept it without judgment. Rather than glossing over the feeling and busying yourself with a household chore or kitchen raid, let yourself pause. Ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? Don't be afraid to get curious. Resistance can show up because of subconscious fears or beliefs you don't realize are affecting you. So be gentle with yourself. I wasn't taught how to cope with feelings like anxiety or fear, so I would handle it by shutting down. Every time something new came into my life, I would freeze and become non-respondent because I didn't know how to cope. So even the act of recognizing resistance gave me the foundation I needed to have a healthier reaction. So once you recognize, go to the second R, which is regroup with yourself. A great way to shake up that resistant energy is to remove yourself from your current environment and get a quick reset. If you're at your desk, walk into another room or step outside for a 5-minute walk. Get a glass of water, do a 3-minute meditation, something to jog your current state. Then ask yourself, how can I reframe this negative or resistant thought? For example, I'm going to give you 2 examples. 1 for just like lifestyle, and then 2 for work, like if you have work you need to get done. So if you worry, for example, that losing weight or making money will make you lose friendships and relationships, which I know in the good space community, just from conversations I have, that that's actually a very common fear, and one that I had too, that if I make a lot of money, I'm going to outgrow and leave behind people that I love and care about. If that's something that scares you, admit first that it would be scary. Acknowledge it. Yes, losing close friendships or relationships because people are used to you being a certain way and couldn't handle the change would be scary. But also acknowledge you would only need to deal with it if it ever happened. You know you want to get healthy, and that shouldn't be dictated by the emotional capacity or reactions of others. So once you recognize that, it's time to create an empowering statement. One like, I only need to please myself and make decisions I feel are right for me. When I'm healthier, I'm happier, and that will strengthen my ability to love those around me even more. So now if you find yourself resisting something like work, step away still for a quick second, do the things that I mentioned, then ask yourself, what's the one thing that's most important to focus on right now? We're talking about the thing that by doing it would make other things easier or unnecessary, as shared in The One Thing by Gary Keller. If you own a business, profit should always be the focus, because otherwise you're having an expensive hobby. So what one thing would make that possible right now for you to get profit in your business? Or, for example, if you want to run a tight household for your family, what's the one thing that if you did it would make other things easier or make the most difference to you and your family? There will always be tasks and pressures calling for your attention, but there's only one in this moment that actually matters and truly gets you closer to your one thing. Sometimes I find my ego thinking everything is equally important, but it's not. Once you have that one thing in your mind, now you can go to the next step. The third R is reconnect with your intention. Take 30 seconds to close your eyes and repeat this ultimate success mantra to thrive in love, abundance, and creativity from Gay Hendricks in The Big Leap. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Repeat it a few more times, then let yourself sit in silence to soak it in. So I'll just repeat it really quick so you can hear it again. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. And if you wanted to write this down so you can repeat it every day, go to the show notes. It's written down there for you. So once you repeat that, think about what kind of future makes you happy. No matter what your exact intention is, you probably want to feel happy and fulfilled, peaceful. Forget money or other external factors for just a second. If you were to do what makes you happy, what does that look like? Maybe you look happy, confident, more loving, and abundant in the love you give to other people. You feel light and look radiant. Fill in the blank. If you feel those things, guess what? Money, love, and abundance will come naturally because it's their energetic nature to flow to like energy. And when it comes, you'll be able to amplify even more all of those things about yourself. So reconnect to your intention. Know what it is you're looking for in the energy you're trying to feel, and then we'll go to the next R. The fourth one is raise your vibration. Now it's time to continue raising your vibration as you get back to work or doing whatever you're doing. What's something good that you can think about right now? How can you make your environment support and foster that vibrational lift? If you have an affirmation playlist, put that on to hear good words. That's actually my favorite way to change the energy. There's also playlists on YouTube that are frequency sounds that actually shift to different emotions that can help you evolve up to them. And as for the affirmations, the spoken word, I actually created a 10-minute one that you can listen to on the podcast as well. So that's going to be linked in the show notes if you want something good to listen to. So once you get to this step and you know how you want to foster that good vibration, you'll already start feeling better. So these last two steps are more of the bonus steps for those of you that want to move to even higher levels of flow. Like if you're just like, cool, I'm a high achiever, let's keep this going, then these next two steps are especially for you. And remember as well, these are all going to be written in the show notes. So please feel free to take notes if you want, but if you feel like, I can't remember all of these, that's okay. They're in the show notes and you can get them there. So the fifth R is reserve your time. Block out time every day for what you know is most important. Science shows that writing down and scheduling commitments helps you achieve more and push past resistance. This saves you energy by helping you know how you're spending every hour of your time. So you don't have to waste the energy to figure it out. Every Friday or Sunday, I schedule my next week in my Ponder Lily planner and block off every hour based on my theme days and whatever is most important for me to get done. If you're not unaware of theme days and what those are about, I have a link in the show notes to a blog post. That way, when the new week starts, there's no question about what I need to be doing because I have everything written down ahead of time with the intention of my future self. So it's just smooth sailing from there. And this practice is especially useful if you struggle to know what to do when time frees up in your day. Like, what do I focus on? I actually have a few private clients who that's exactly their problem. They're like, when a meeting gets canceled, I have no idea what's worth spending that free time on. And so I end up just getting distracted. And so blocking out this time really helps. So the sixth R, which I would wish everyone did this. It's so helpful. It's something that I practice, especially with my business and my life, and it really works, is run things by a friend every week. Get an accountability partner. It doesn't even have to be a friend. It could be a coach. It could be someone you hire for accountability, but you need an accountability partner. Stacey Hank says to identify someone you trust whose feedback will be honest and thorough. Ideal accountability partners are those you respect and whom you don't want to disappoint. That's definitely important. Then she continues to say, this person can be trying to accomplish the same goal or just be a support resource, making sure you don't skip out on the hard work, succumbing to resistance. That's actually why a lot of my clients hire me, is because they need that accountability and that guidance and that strategy. And we have made so many amazing steps forward. And when I hired a business coach, same thing. Like, I felt anxious if I knew we were going to talk that day and I didn't finish what I said I would finish, and then I would do it. And so I literally made so much progress by having that person. And then right now on Clubhouse, which is an audio only app where you can jump into conversations and listen in and chime in and connect with other people, every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, I host a mentor session room where entrepreneurs and people, and you don't even have to be an entrepreneur, but we just share our weekly wins, our weekly struggles. And if we need anything if there's anything we need feedback on, we can ask the group. And that has been so powerful. So there are so many options out there. And if you want to join us on Clubhouse, we'll also link that as well in the show notes if you want to just get rolling and see how it feels. But if we need any more reasons to get an accountability partner, Stacey Hank also says, the ASTD study found that your chance of successfully reaching a goal rises to 95% when you establish an ongoing appointment with your accountability partner. Oh my gosh, 95%. So get an accountability partner. It will change your life. I hope this episode helped you put a finger on resistance and gave you good tips to get started. If you have any questions or inspiring aha moments, leave a comment in our show notes so we can be inspired by you and keep the conversation going. And as always, reach out to me in my DMs if you have any follow-up questions or things that aren't clear. I always love connecting with my community and being that support for you. Now it's time for an affirmation. This week's affirmation is from Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, and it's the ultimate success mantra to thrive in love, abundance, and creativity. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. If you found today's tips inspiring or thought-provoking, share it right now on social media and make sure to tag me at Francesca A. Phillips or at Find Your Good Space, and also weigh in the comment section at findyourgoodspace.com. You can find links in the show notes. And if you have a spiritual or mindfulness problem that you want me to unpack on an upcoming The Good Space episode, or an awesome manifesting story you want to share, give my podcast phone line a ring right now at 917-719-0867. Also, don't forget to download my free morning routine guide. It's what helped me reduce my anxiety, increase productivity, and so much more. The link to everything I mentioned is in the show notes. See you soon.